top of his head at the time. I didn't consider it a considered opinion or anything else like that. Whether it did or not, it would just simply be marginal, but it may and it may not.
So as long as as well as a curfew, would the group or whoever is supporting the curfew when it gets its legs and stuff would we need to also? I mean, you know, maybe I end up in the Assembly. It's nice to know. Would there need to be other planning legislation put around a curfew so that wouldn't happen? Would that be a good idea?
The way to me, the weakness in the whole argument is the thing that controls the utilisation of land around the airport is the aircraft noise exposure forecast.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in the last 10 years since Capital Airport Group have owned the airport, there have been 3 done. The first one was done in 1999, based on 230,000 aircraft. The aircraft noise exposure forecast for ANF 20 stretched as far as Thompson Drive, which is the entry to Jerrabonga.
Mm-hmm.
The next one was done in 2002 on 283,000 aircraft, of which a large number, the number was increased on jets and things like this to increase the size of it. It now stretched down to Tralee. Since then, it has been widened, and while the numbers have been reduced from 283,000 to 282,120, the ANF is now longer than that for the current main runway at Sydney. And that has been, and it's been widened out, and that's been done by weighting the aircraft into the night, because in ANF determinations, aircraft at night count times 4. Okay. So the whole thing's been skewed.
Thank
now, I don't believe...
So that footprint would get smaller with the curfew?
Substantially.
Okay, cheers. Thanks. Sorry, Jeff.
I'm going to make a very unilateral decision, and I will apologise to Mike, but I'm going to give you the last question because you haven't spoken. And the largest majority of questions have been from men, so I would like to hear from the women. And I'm sorry, very sorry to Mike, but this will be the last question.
I have 3 things here. The first one's a statement. When we bought in Hackett, we weren't like the people who bought at the side of Melbourne Airport. The airport was already in when they bought their cheap blocks. The other thing, if we're having commercial aircraft at night, what about the noise of the trucks? Bringing whatever they bring in to the airport. And the second one is passengers, how are they going to be transferred to Sydney?
Is this a question?
Well, it is a question. We're going to have trucks, that will be noise. We can hear Northbourne Avenue, we can hear Majura Avenue, and then we've got people being transported up to Sydney. So it's not just the aircraft.
Well, I mean, I've been told by, without naming certain federal members of the federal parliament, that their view is that the freight operation should actually be somewhere near Goulburn, on that main highway going between Sydney and Melbourne.
Yes, they have requested it.
Because it doesn't make a lot of sense to bring all this freight in if it's going to come into Canberra. Then you put it on some trucks, take it up Majura Road and clutter up the road between here and Goulburn. And you're probably going to go to Sydney or Melbourne.
Yeah,
it just doesn't make a lot of sense. Now the view is that that the federal government may be looking at that as a viable option to actually take the freight component out of the Canberra airport and set it up in a special airport out near Goulburn, which they've been trying to get there for ages.
Thank you. All right, well, let's close the meeting. If people want to talk to Mike, who's just missed out on a question, he's there. I'm very sorry, Mike. And I'd encourage you to hang around and talk if you want to. There seems to be lots of few conversations that haven't quite finished. So thank you very much for coming. There's a few things I'd just like to remind you of. There are petitions on the chairs. If you are able to take any number of them, collect signatures, please return them to us at the post office box in Watson by the 20th of January, because we'll be tabling in January.
Another extension.
No, we'll be tabling it in federal parliament. So the more signatures, the merrier. Politicians are what watching, they are very interested in numbers. So this is a chance to make a difference by having some numbers behind us. If you are inspired to make a submission on the National Aviation Policy, this is this issue that closes on the 27th of June. I got that right.
How do we get a hold of that, Jenny?
The issues paper, it's on the web. If you do a Google search on National Aviation Policy, you will find it. They're basically asking the question, which airports in Australia should remain curfew-free? And as Jeff has mentioned, there's plenty of other airports around the countryside that are putting up their hands for a curfew, and if Canberra wants one, it really behoves us to stand up and get cracking and ask for it, because it's not going to be handed to us. It's something that we all have to fight for. So thank you very much for coming. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Frank. Thank you to all the... thank you to Deb for coming along, as always, and I'd really like to thank Deb for her work again and apologise for not acknowledging her at the beginning, and good luck in your future environmental activism. We hope you will join Curfew4Canberra. We'd love to handle it.
You need to, you'll have one by then.
And good luck to everybody else, and thank you. Thank you.